Hey everyone, I was going to wait till tomorrow to record this to be a little bit more put together, but it is just glaringly obvious that I need to share this as soon as possible. So here we go. um, I think a lot of us are struggling with loving ourselves. And when I say that, we falsify loving ourselves with kind of superficial ways of self care. And we think by taking a bath or drinking a glass of wine or watching that show is a way to take care of ourselves. And while it is true that it is a way, it is not the way that our soul is asking us to love ourselves. And I think we need to take a deeper look at what self love really looks like. I will give you an example for myself. I truly believed that I loved myself. And I went to a meditation session and they asked for volunteers to do muscle testing. And I'd never done muscle testing before. So I volunteer and I'm like, oh, I got this. Like, no big deal. Do you love yourself? Wrong. And I was like, what? Like, okay, let's ask a couple other questions. We'll come back to that one. Asked a couple other questions, flying colors past that. Came back to the question again. Do you love yourself? Yes, of course. Muscle testing. Wrong. I left that meditation so shook up because it was the first time that it was being reflected back to me that I wasn't really loving myself the way that I wanted to love myself. And when I really spent time looking at it, I couldn't look myself in the eye in the mirror. I would do it briefly, like as I'm doing my hair and I'm looking at my hair. Or I'm doing my makeup, I'm like looking at where I'm putting my makeup on. As I'm getting dressed in the morning, I'm looking at my clothes. I'm not looking at myself. I really struggled to like look myself in the eye. And it took a simple practice that I'm going to tell you now as a way to love myself just a little bit every day. And it's going to sound really silly, so do it if it resonates. But I literally look in the mirror and I say to myself, I love you. And each time I say it, I emphasize a different word. I love you. I love you. I love you. And then I give it different voices. And then I add, I love you because I love this about you. And I have to get to 10. And at first, I struggled, to be totally honest with you, looking myself in the eye and telling myself I loved myself without it being about my ego and building myself up. It was a genuine, deep connection with myself. And now I do it no problem, but it's a practice. It's something you have to commit to. And what I realized, and as I reflected back to other relationships that I've had, is that many times the reason that they didn't work out, and this is romantic relationships, these are work relationships, these are relationships with friends. The reason it didn't work out and it didn't go the way that I thought it would is because I didn't know how to love myself. So how is it fair to ask someone else to love me if I don't know how to love me? How can I expect them to show up for me and love me the way I want to be loved if I don't know what that looks like? And so I had to get real with myself about what does it look like when I love myself? What does that truly look like? And can I exist in the world without, for the rest of my life, with no one else loving me? Just myself. What does that look like? And how does that feel? And if it feels uncomfortable, then that's where you can start. Like that's your indicator that you have some work to do, and that's okay. And it's still a practice. Like again, it's a practice. It's not something that I've just like mastered and it's going swimmingly every single day. It's it's a struggle sometimes, right? Like we mess up and we judge ourselves and we're dealing with shame and guilt and fear and all of these things. But what we fail to really think about is like, do you really love yourself? Are you really loving yourself? Or are you asking someone else to fill that hole for you? Do you not love yourself and you're seeking it from someone else to fill that hole for you? They're not responsible for that. They're responsible for their self-love and you're responsible for your self-love. And then if you have extra, that is for the other person, right? And then people can talk about attachments and what that looks like and all of that, of course. But really, it boils down to you loving yourself unconditionally, without shame, without guilt, without feeling bad about it. Now, that doesn't mean you need to go above and beyond. It's a swing of a pendulum, right? Like, there has to be within reason, that makes sense. Like, you don't need to swing so far that you've just neglected everything else. That's not the point. The point is just to really start to take a look at, how do you love yourself? Do you love yourself truly? Like, you can tell yourself you do, but when you really think about it, do you love everything about yourself? Even your flaws? Can you love those parts too? Maybe when you get into an argument with someone or they point out something in you that you don't really like, can you love that part of yourself too until you resolve it? Can you love it till you resolve it? It's not to say that you won't ever resolve it, but like, I used to be very aggressive or very loud or very, I wasn't feeling heard. And so I would just be very forceful with my expression. And because I thought that if I was louder or more forceful or very like more masculine about it, that I would be taken more seriously. It never worked out that way. It never worked in my favor when I did that, right? So I had to like love that part of myself. Okay, it's not great. You really shouldn't be doing that, but you know what? I'm gonna love you for what you were trying to do in that moment, and in the way you were trying to make that happen for yourself. But let's try it a different way. And when I did that, it transformed the way that I communicated when I was frustrated with something or I needed something to change. It was a way for me to see that the way I move about the world is a reflection of how I love myself. And if I'm not loving myself, if I'm feeling very like lacking of love, or I'm seeking out love or attention or whatever, there's something in there that's missing that only I can give myself. And once I've given it to myself, then I don't necessarily need it from someone else. It's just a gift if they give it to you, if someone else is willing to give you love and show you love and express their love, right? And so those connections become so much more powerful because I love myself. And so really, this whole message today is about self-love. And if you can get really honest with yourself, do you love all the parts of yourself, including your flaws? And if the answer is no, first of all, give yourself grace and be gentle and start to figure out a way to believe that you are worthy of love and that you are enough exactly as you are. You don't have to do anything. Just by you being on the planet, it means that you matter and that you're worthy of whatever it is that you want. Because even without actively doing anything, let me give you a thought about this. It's like when people lose a loved one, they often say that the hard part is that they go to pick up the phone to call them and they realize they're not there, or they want to text them but they can't because they're not there, right? It was just their mere existence that mattered. Not that they, is it great that they gave great advice or that they could be there for them or could support them in hard times? Yes, but it was just the mere existence of them. and they say, I just wanted one more chance to tell them I love them, or one more opportunity to hug them, or it was just their mere existence. That exists within you. You are that for someone else. You are that worthiness to someone else, so that if you were gone tomorrow, someone else feels that missing piece. Not lack, but it's just like a missing piece, simply because you exist. So you have worth simply because you exist. You just might not know it, because other people might not regularly say it to you, and so, or express it to you. And so if you can get to a place of loving yourself so much, knowing that you are worthy of a lot and you are deserving simply because you exist, it is going to shift a lot of things for you. And it is not an easy process. I've been doing it for almost a year now. And again, it's a practice, but when you do that fully, wholeheartedly, without reservation, it's amazing what comes to you. It opens up your heart in a way that I can't even describe. And the people that show up are undeniably amazing as well, because they love themselves and you love yourself. And it is this beautiful environment. So take time today to think about whether or not you love yourself, and how you can do something small to start truly, deeply loving all the parts of you and believing that you are worthy of that love that you're giving yourself. And to piggyback on many other wonderful people, is like, you need to be your own soulmate, your own cheerleader, your own lover. And when you do that, it all changes. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.